The characters that we meet in Death of a Salesman are, first of all, Willie Loman, who is an insecure traveling salesman that believes wholeheartedly in the American dream, but never quite achieves it. Then, his own sons also fail to fulfill his hope that they will succeed that dream. When Willie's illusions begin to fail under the pressure of his life, his mental health begins to suffer. His overwhelming disparity form the essential conflict of Death of a Salesman. Next, we meet Linda Loman, who is Willie's loyal, loving wife that suffers through Willie's ambitious dreams. Occasionally, she dreams with Willie, but more often, she is far more realistic. She has nurtured the family through all of Willie's misguided attempts at success, and her emotional strength and perseverance support Willie until his collapse. Biff Loman is Willie's 34-year-old son, and he is your typical peaked in high school kind of guy. He was a star football player with scholarship prospects and a lot of friends, and also multiple women who desired him. However, he failed math and did not have enough credits to graduate, so since then, his need to steal has gotten him fired from every job that he has held. Happy Loman is Willie's other son, the younger of the two, and he has lived in Biff's shadow his whole life, but he compensates by encouraging his professional ambition. Although he works as an assistant to an assistant buyer in a department store, Happy presents himself as supremely important. Additionally, he practices bad business ethics and sleeps with his girlfriends of all his superiors. Charlie is Willie's next-door neighbor who owns a successful business. Willie is very jealous of Charlie's success, and Charlie gives Willie money to pay his bills. Towards the end of the play, we realize that Willie sort of reveals that Charlie is his only friend. Bernard is Charlie's son and an important, successful lawyer. Although Willie used to mock Bernard for studying hard, Bernard always loved Willie's sons dearly and looked at Biff as a hero. Bernard's success is difficult for Willie to accept because his own sons' lives do not measure up. Ben is Willie's wealthy older brother who has recently died and appears only in Willie's daydreams. Willie regards Ben as a symbol of the success that he so desperately craves for himself and his sons. Willie has a mistress as well, and she's only referred to as the woman. And when Happy and Biff were in high school is when this affair had started. The woman's attention and admiration boost Willie's fragile ego, and when Biff catches Willie in his hotel room with the woman, he loses faith in his father, and his dream of passing math and going to college dies. Howard Wagner is Willie's boss. He inherited the company from his father, whom Willie regarded as a masterful man and a prince. Though much younger than Willie, Howard talks down to Willie and eventually fires him, despite Willie's assertions that he named Howard at his birth. Some smaller and lesser-known characters are Stanley, a waiter at Frank's Chop House. Stanley and Happy seem to be friends, or at least acquaintances, and they banter about Miss Forsyth together. Miss Forsyth and Letta are two young women who Happy and Biff meet at Frank's Chop House, and Jenny is Charlie's secretary.
Hello. In the beginning of time. The play. In the beginning of Death of a Salesman, we meet Willie Loman, a traveling salesman who has trouble driving. We first meet Willie's sons, Biff and Happy, who return home from working in the West. Willie feels that Biff could be more successful with his life. Willie begins to have flashbacks, making him crazy. The whole house hears him screaming at night, and everyone learns of his troubles with his wife and job. The next day, nothing goes right. Willie gets fired, Biff gets denied of his loan, and then eventually Biff and Happy and Willie all go out, but Biff and Happy ditch their father at the restaurant for some girls. In the meantime, Willie daydreams about his affairs in Boston. Once Biff and Happy return home, they find their mother, who is furious about them leaving their father at the restaurant. Biff admits that they are all losers. Willie realizes his sons love him very much, and he decides that he should kill himself so Biff can get the insurance money that he deserves. In the end, Linda is still in denial about her husband's troubles. Biff wants to be a better man, and Happy, of all people, want to be just like his father. And there you have it.
The biggest theme that we see presented in this play is this overwhelming American dream idea. Willie lives his entire life trying to achieve this American dream where he wants to be able to provide for his family and live a happy life where he has all that he wants and desires and needs. And we kind of see this overlap between Fences and Death of a Salesman, because in Fences, that is exactly what Troy is trying to achieve for his family throughout the entire play. They both, Willie and Troy, just want to be able to provide for their families while also living a happy and abundant life at the same time. And they are trying to push their kids to achieve that same dream.
Alright, so the next theme that we see is the betrayal. Oh, we all love a good betrayal in every story. No, we don't. Willie's primary obsession throughout the play is what he considers to be Biff's betrayal of his ambitions for him. Willie believes that he has every right to expect Biff to fulfill the promise to inherit within him. When Biff walks out on Willie's ambitions for him, Willie takes this rejection as a personal affront that he takes within him. Willie, after all, is a salesman, and Biff's ego-crushing rebuff ultimately reflects Willie's inability to sell him on the American dream and the product in which Willie himself believes most faithfully. Willie assumes that Biff's betrayal stems from Biff's discovery of Willie's affair with a betrayal of Linda's love. Whereas Willie feels that Biff has betrayed him, Biff feels that Willie, a phony little fake, has betrayed him with his unending stream of ego-stroking lies.
Okay, Logan, what did you think of the play Death of a Salesman?
I thought it was very realistic sort of play, because like a lot of dads, especially in that time period, they wanted their sons especially to be very successful and sort of inherit the traits, the sort of manly traits that their fathers had at that point in time.
I think that the play was a really great depiction of kind of like what really happens as a result of the pressure that people feel to fulfill a certain idea of life. I had said that because Fences sort of had an overlapping theme, that the plays were similar in that sense, and you just see in both the leading characters, both Troy and Willie, this like result of what happens when you just put all this pressure of life. I mean, both men had an affair, and both men just saw their children as failures, but you realize deep down in the end that like they actually loved their kids or whatever. But
yeah, like in the end of both of them, they very much loved their kids, and the only reason that they were being so harsh on them is because they love their kids, and it's just kind of like harsh love in both scenarios. The one in Fences, he was a little rougher with his way of showing his love for his kids, whereas like the one in Death of a Salesman didn't really depict it, or at least I didn't really see it that way.
I mean, he killed himself just so his kids could have money.
Yeah.
So there's that. Yeah, and it's such a good indication too, because both, like I said, both movies are trying to depict this like a pressure of the American dream, and in that time period that was like all that people wanted and all that they had worked for, and that's why both these plays ended up being really big shows at the time, was because they just really showed the pressures that people were feeling during that time of life when parents, especially the fathers, were supposed to be able to provide for their families. And yeah, overall, like, I just thought it was a really good play. In high school, we watched the movie version, and they tried to like visually show Willie's hallucinations and like visions and stuff, and it almost like made me dizzy. But other than that, the play was it was a good read, and I liked it a lot.
Yep, absolutely.